Have you ever felt so distant from God that you thought it was impossible to return? Jesus told a story that begins with rebellion, passes through shame, and ends with an unexpected embrace. It is the journey of someone who traded home for emptiness, until the hunger of the soul spoke louder. Today, you will discover that even when everything seems lost, the Father never stops looking to the road, waiting for your return. Before we begin, help us spread the word. Subscribe, like, leave a comment, and share with those you love. The younger son, driven by haste and dissatisfaction, approaches his father and, without hesitation, says, "Father, give me the share of the inheritance that belongs to me." His words cut deep, as if he were saying, "I prefer what you can give me, not your presence." Even so, the father, in silence, divides his wealth between his two sons. A few days later, the young man gathers his belongings, bids farewell to the house that watched him grow, and sets out for a distant land, believing that freedom was far from the walls of home. There, given over to the pleasures and illusions of a world that promises much but gives little, he wastes everything on parties, fair-weather friends, and reckless choices. But the fleeting glitter of sin soon fades. A severe famine falls upon that land, and with it reality strikes hard. With no money, no friends, and no direction, the young man looks for work and finds only the most degrading task for a Jew: feeding pigs. The stench, the filth clinging to his skin, the isolation. Each day grew heavier. His misery sank so deep that he even longed to eat the pig's food, and still no one gave him anything. There, sitting on the cold ground, surrounded by unclean animals, something inside him awakens. He begins to remember his father's house, the fresh bread in the morning, the laughter of the servants, the warmth of home. And then, as if a light pierced through the darkness, he thinks, "In my Father's house even the hired workers have bread to spare. I will return. I will say that I have sinned against heaven and against you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son." With torn clothes, a weakened body, and a heart crushed by shame, he gets up. Every step on the road back feels heavier than the one before. The journey is long, the sun beats down, and his mind is flooded with fearful thoughts. What if my father rejects me? What if he doesn't even want to hear me? Even so, he keeps going, because, despite everything, a quiet hope grows within him. Maybe the father will still receive him. While the young man was still far off, weary from the long journey and carrying the weight of guilt, the father, who perhaps had looked down that road every single day, saw him from a distance. And then, something unexpected happens. He does not wait for his son to arrive, does not fold his arms in silence, does not wait for an explanation. The father runs. He runs like someone who no longer sees the mistake, but only the beloved son coming home. When he reaches him, he embraces him tightly, as if to keep him from ever leaving again, and covers him with kisses, as one who seals forgiveness before the words are even spoken. Trembling, the son begins to confess, "I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father, giving no room for further explanations, orders the servants, "Quickly bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet." Each gesture is a symbol of restoration. The robe, to cover shame. The ring, to restore the authority of a son. The sandals, to mark the end of slavery. And then, as one who longs to turn mourning into celebration, the father commands, "Kill the fattened calf, and let us have a feast, because this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." But while the music, singing, and laughter overflow from the house, lit by oil lamps and warmed by the smell of roasting meat, the older son, who had been working in the field, approaches and hears the commotion. Curious, he calls a servant and asks what is happening. Upon hearing that his brother had returned and that his father had ordered a feast, his expression changes. Sweat was still running down his face from the day's work, but now it was indignation burning within him. The heart that should have rejoiced instead closes. His steps, which could have carried him inside, stop short. He refuses to enter. The father, noticing his absence, does not ignore it. He leaves the celebration, sets aside the joy for a moment, and goes out to meet his older son. But before the father can even speak, the son pours out years of accumulated resentment. I have served you for so many years, never disobeyed your orders, and yet you never gave me even a young goat to celebrate with my friends. And now, this son of yours, in who squandered everything on a shameful life, comes back and you welcome him with a feast. There was bitterness in his voice, as if every word were a protest against grace. The father listens without interrupting, absorbing every bitter and resentful word. Then, with the same patience and tenderness he showed the younger son, he speaks in a calm, loving voice. Son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. His words are a gentle reminder that the inheritance and the Father's love were already his by right. They didn't need to be earned or fought for. He continues, his voice thick with emotion. But it was right that we should rejoice and be glad, because your brother was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. The father doesn't diminish his son's resentment, but invites him to see the situation from a new perspective, that of celebrating a life restored. His words weren't merely an explanation, but an invitation to enter the house in the Father's heart, an invitation to celebrate the reunion, to set aside the justice of earned merit and embrace the grace of forgiveness, an invitation to understand that a father's love isn't divided but multiplied. The father's joy for the son who returned doesn't lessen the love for the one who was always there. This parable reveals profound truths that transcend the centuries. It shows us that God respects our choices even when they lead us far from Him, allowing us to reap the consequences of our own steps. It also teaches that true repentance begins within us, in the moment we come to our senses and recognize our complete need for the Father. Above all, it reminds us that God's love is active. He does not merely wait but rises and runs to meet us when we take the first step back. The Father in this story is God Himself. The younger son represents the repentant sinner who returns with a broken heart, and the older son symbolizes those who, even while remaining in the house, have not yet understood the depth of grace. Today, that same Father has His eyes fixed on the road, waiting for you. And when He sees you, even from a distance, He will not hesitate. He will run to embrace you and restore you completely.
May this word take root in your spirit and guide your steps. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.